is a problem that people are able to prosper. And, it's not just Arday. This is something that happens repeatedly again and again. People are able to prosper by telling a story that flatters their audience into thinking that the audience are on the side of the good people.
The resignation this week of Professor Jason Arday hasn't stopped the upcoming publication of his book later this month. His memoir is Great and Unfortunate Things, and it'll be out towards the end of August. The Times columnist Sarah Dyson's read the book and is with us now. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Well, are we sure that he's written it himself? Sorry, that's a bit. I'm being a bit facetious, but you take my point.
Completely reasonable question in the circumstances of a plagiarism row. And he has co-written it. So there is a co-author who is, acknowledged as is proper within the book. But it's his work, and he has not disputed anything that's been written on it, so he takes full responsibility for this whole mess.
And the thing about him, as we've uncovered and discovered this week, is the claims that he has made continuously throughout his life, which, as you reflect in your column, are conveyed in the memoir as well. So what does he sort of stand by? What claims does he own in this book?
Goodness, so it's been quite a job to actually keep a tally on these things. So among the claims that he has made that are not in the book, he doesn't repeat any suggestion that he had a professional football career or a professional snooker career. That's gone. He doesn't talk about having run 600 miles in 6 days, which would be an elite feat of ultra-marathoning. He doesn't mention, so this is something that I wasn't aware of, but The Atlantic has run a story comparing the book with The Proposal. And apparently in the book, he describes being hit by a car and being in a coma, which somehow that extraordinary experience did not make it into the finished book. In the book itself, he also doesn't claim to have raised over £3 million for charity in the book either. So that claim has sort of been quietly shuffled off. He does claim in the book that he went to Brazil to install water pumps, something that the charity WaterAid has now said they would never ask any volunteer to do. He claims that he had a brain tumour when he was writing his PhD, lost his memory just before his visa and had to relearn his thesis. Claims, and really, this is the big one to me, actually, claims that he was non-verbal due to autism until the age of 11, only started speaking just before his 12th birthday, and was illiterate until he was 18. And to me, those are claims that are really impossible to adjudicate on without access to his medical notes, which he has not opened up. But it is so extraordinarily unusual for a child to be, profoundly nonverbal. He claims that he was unable to understand speech, that he could hear sounds, but he couldn't interpret meaning from them, and only began to be able to do that when he was at the end of primary school age. Children who are that profoundly disabled are vanishingly unlikely to go on to become, articulate adults, never mind elite academics.
Yeah, it's fascinating trying to link all these various aspects together, as you do in your column as well. Can I read this line from your column? Arday's story, regardless of its authenticity, feels precision-tooled to flatter the biases of the sappiest white liberals. Just dive into that a little bit more for us, and I suppose how the book plays into that.
Well, I think one of the things that has played in Arday's favour is that he came to prominence basically in parallel with the Black Lives Matter movement, also in parallel with a real increased attention on and sympathy towards neurodiverse people. And he has a story that kind of ticks all the boxes in terms of that. This incredible triumph over adversity of being the son of Ghanaian immigrants living in deprivation, profoundly disabled, but somehow through, in his account, his mother's love, is able to flourish as as an adult. It's the kind of story that belongs in, a sappy Hollywood biopic or drama, right? It is a story that tugs on the heartstrings and allows everyone who endorsed him to feel that they were doing the right thing, and that they were, by supporting him, helping to correct historic injustices. And it doesn't really matter, regardless of the truth of various elements of this story. I think it is a problem that people are able to prosper. And, it's not just Arday. This is something that happens repeatedly again and again. People are able to prosper by telling a story that flatters their audience into thinking that the audience are on the side of the good people.
That's interesting. And I think that the flattery also comes with blinkers, doesn't it? And a sort of unwillingness to scrutinise, I suppose.
I think the unwillingness to scrutinise is a problem right the way down in this story. Yeah. And again, I don't want to suggest that there's anything unique about academic standards being a bit flaky. I mean, one of the things that I found is not really the biggest part of the story, but one of the things that I think is most shocking is that Liverpool John Moores, which awarded Arday's PhD, have admitted that he only had one face-to-face supervision in the at least 3 years that it takes to write a PhD. That's absolutely crackers. That should never happen. Like, this should be one of the most intense academic teaching experiences of someone's life, to be writing a PhD. There's no way people should just be floating around on their own.
Yeah, totally.
But it does happen, right? So it's not just about Arday, but once people are committed to a story, it's so hard to walk it back. And and I've certainly been in that situation where I've started to believe something and been kind of squashing down the little doubts because it becomes uncomfortable, and you don't like the kind of person that you think you would be if you started questioning this story. That absolutely has been protective in this case.
And just finally, Sarah, it sounds as though he stands to make a bit of money from this book, although we're not quite sure how much. There's a previous claim of over £1 million.
I love this, because how am I supposed to choose between whether I doubt Jason Arday, proven serial unreliable narrator, or do I believe that the publishing industry is deranged? Both of these things are true.
That's a real dilemma. How do we get through that?
How do I pick one? This is terrible. So we don't know exactly how much, but it's going to be a significant outlay. This is the kind of book that is heavily trailed. It's already been sold into serialization. You would expect this to do pretty big numbers, not just in the UK, but in the US as well. So I'm not surprised that they're going ahead with publication, because ultimately, if they don't publish, the only way that they can recoup their costs on this would be by suing him to recover some of the advance. And as an author who's received an advance, that money's gone. You're never seeing that again.
Yeah, fair. Sarah, it's a brilliant piece, and it's so good to hear you talking us through it. Thank you very much. Thanks for speaking to us this morning. That is Times columnist Sarah Ditum, who's read Jason Arday's book. You can find Sarah's column online. It's probably easiest just to search her name, Sarah Ditum, in the Times website or app, and it'll pop up for you.
We've been talking this morning about integrity, haven't we? How do you sort of showcase who you are? Whether that's you're the Prime Minister or whether you're a Cambridge professor. And I think the challenge with this story is, once question marks have been raised about one or two things that you've said, how does that then not apply to all of the claims that you've made?
Yeah, and it's very difficult. This is on integrity and on credibility. It is very difficult to get that back, and that's the thing there. Even Sarah, as she's reading the book, is kind of like, well, what of this can I believe? Some of these claims have been made in the past, and they've been kind of watered down or left out altogether from the book, and all of that undermines a person's credibility. But I think it's the unwillingness to scrutinise part for me that has shone through in Times Radio's coverage of this in the last couple of days, and that Sarah brings to life again in the kind of the book, in the telling of his story, I suppose, through the book, that there was no scrutiny.
Yeah, well, also on the front page of the Times Times today are the words of Professor Hilary Kremin, head of the Faculty of Education at Cambridge, who had been presented with evidence of Jason Arde's alleged plagiarism in May in 2023. That was by two academics. And she described him then as the best in the world in his field and gave him her full support, even when those concerns were raised several years ago. We'll have more on this in the next hour. But yeah, that question of integrity, when it's lost, is it sort of permanently damaged? Is there a way out from this?